With the fastest payouts in the industry, there's no other choice than MyBookie.ag. Get in on the action today. Visit MyBookie.ag today.
Join now, and MyBookie will double your first deposit. Use promo code SKIN to activate the offer. That's promo code SKIN. Visit MyBookie.ag today. You play, you win, you get paid. A proud sponsor of the Armchair Quarterbacks. It's time for you to put your own skin in the game. Are you a gun enthusiast? Love to shop for guns, but also looking for friendly service? Well, you're in luck. Here in St. Augustine, Top Gun Supply is the friendly gun shop. Staff is very knowledgeable, happy to see you when you walk through the door, and can assist you with all your gun shopping needs. Top Gun Supply stocks a wide range of firearms, such as Ruger, Beretta, 6 Hour, HK, and LWRC. So stop on by at Top Gun Supply at 525 State Road 16 in St. Augustine. Top Gun Supply here in St. Augustine, the friendly gun shop, a proud sponsor of the Armchair Quarterbacks.
We are the Armchair Quarterback Show, your first choice for sports talk live from the First Coast. We're here weekdays on CBS Sports Radio.
Pack it up, pack it in, let me begin. I came to win, battle me, that's a sin. I won't ever slack up, don't give it a back up. Try and play the role and you're the whole crew will act.
Tap that Armchair Quarterback app. Take us anywhere you go.
It's morning.
Yes, and what a lovely morning. Good morning.
Good morning. We've talked the whole night through.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on CBS Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good morning, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Martin Perez is heading back to the Boston Red Sox. He signs a one-year deal worth $4.5 million, a $6 million option for 2022, or a $500,000 buyout. So the guarantee is of $5 million. Perez pitched 1 year for the Boston Red Sox. With their depleted rotation in 2020, he went 3-5 with a 4.5 ERA. Over the weekend, some head coaching jobs were filled in the National Football League officially. Jacksonville Jaguars get Urban Meyer. The Jets get Robert Saleh, former defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers. Arthur Smith, Tennessee's OC, he heads to Atlanta to become the new head coach for the Falcons. Jobs still wide open. Philadelphia, the Chargers, Houston, and Detroit, as they are awaiting more interviews. A note to be aware of: a National Football League assistant coach cannot accept a job until his team has been eliminated from the playoffs. Report coming out of Tampa, Florida: Rob Gronkowski has confirmed that he will return for the 2021 upcoming football season. Quote, "Yeah, you gotta. I feel like this team was built to win right now. It was put together this year to win right now. It always pops up in your mind. You're thinking about the future a little bit. I can definitely see this team also having a lot of talent come back and having another successful run next year with me." Rob Gronkowski will be 32 next season. Tom Brady, 44. Former Oakland A's pitcher Dave Stewart submitted a $115 million bid to buy the city of Oakland's share of the Coliseum, with plans to develop the site, according to the San Francisco Chronicle. With both the Warriors and Raiders leaving the site in recent years, the A's are the last professional team still using the Coliseum. The team has undergone steps to buy a new ballpark at Howard Terminal about 7 miles uptown. The A's currently own the other half of the Coliseum. Stewart, 63 years old, played parts of 8 seasons in Oakland and helped the team win a World Series in 1989 and 2 more AL pennants. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for more of the Armchair Quarterbacks YouTube Live. Please like, subscribe, and share our show today. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for sports talk live from the First Coast. Good morning. It's time to wake up, y'all. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterback Show. We're here weekdays, 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 Central to 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 Central. The Armchair Quarterback Show, your first choice for Southern sports talk. Good morning, Mr. Justin Waller.
Good morning. I don't know much, but I know one thing. Happy MLK Day. And we've got a full slate of sports. Get your work done before noon, folks.
I know that's right. Happy Martin Luther King Day too. Don't take it with this. This is separate. This is my intro. I don't know much, but I know one thing. Andy Reid's balls arrive in a dump truck every day. Wow, what a call! You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks.
You know my name, but were you just another American who saw too many movies as a child? Another orphan of a bankrupt culture who thinks he's John Wayne, Rambo, Marshall Dillon.
I was always kind of partial to Roy Rogers, actually. Really like those sequin shirts.
Do you really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Yippee-ki-yay.
Armchair.
Community Access Channel.
He's the armchair quarterback. He's full of beer and he's full of snacks. The all-American man. With a cool one in his head.
Hey, howdy, hi, top of the morning to you. Welcome to the Armchair Quarterback Radio Show. Kind of a new look in our studio. More's coming, but the sound quality should be much better today. I'm going to go back and listen to it. But Justin, can you hear us loud and clear? You should be able to.
I am. I'm adjusting, but now that I've got my setup adjusted, I think I hear you loud and clear.
Yeah. I went on YouTube when the sports flash was on, and it sounds basically cut out the external speaker, figured out a way to go directly in. It only took us 7-8 years, whatever the hell it was. Anyways, we're no longer on the app, and so I wanted to make sure that the sound was much cleaner. And because I'm using a different computer, long story short, you should get a much cleaner listen. So with all that aside, if y'all are just joining us for the first time, we've always sounded this great, and away we go. So
And if you're the intern that mailed us that one application 7 years ago, we're sorry. We should have listened.
Yeah, exactly. What happened to that guy? Okay, let's go ahead and first of all, before we go any further, we do want to extend Happy Martin Luther King Day to everybody. Make sure no one forgets that. It doesn't matter what happened in the world today. What side are you on? Martin Luther King was for peace, and I think that's the one thing that we can all agree upon. I think he would be appalled of what happened throughout 2020, of course, early 2021. No one from that generation is not. I can tell you that. And when I think of Martin Luther King Day and I think of sports, there's always a lot of basketball on. But honestly, my mind always shifts to Jackie Robinson because they were trailblazers. Obviously, one was different than the other. But honestly, I believe Jackie Robinson was the first to really come in and start the quote unquote, what I would say vocal movement, as far as people got to talk about Jackie Robinson and then Martin Luther King's efforts. There was more of a light shown on it when he started doing his thing. So a lot of people always point to Rosa Parks, but I always point to Jackie Robinson and the hell that he went through, because he went through it on a daily basis. I think it's what killed the man. We lost Jackie at a very early age, and it had to be stress related. When you see pictures of Jackie, and he was a pretty young man when he passed away, he looked like he was like 75, and I think he was like in his 40s, right? So that's what I think of when I think of Martin Luther King Day is the equality, because we're sports fans, big sports fans, the equality in sports. And then, of course, I can't go over this day without not thinking about, Justin, you're a little younger than me, so I don't know how much you remember the actual event, but Doug Williams winning the Super Bowl, becoming the first black quarterback in 1987 season, so 1988 January, I believe, and how big of a deal was it he made it, and then he went on to win it. He beat Elway and the Broncos, and that was a huge deal for me growing up. And shortly after that, it was like a couple years later, Art Shell became the first black head coach in the NFL, and that was a big barrier that was passed. Nowadays I don't even think about that kind of stuff when it comes to sports. I feel like we've come a long way. This past year, the way we acted probably didn't show it, but I think in general, the fan, the sports fan, and in general, people in the United States, it's still the greatest country in the world, and I feel like it has less issues race-wise than anywhere else in the world. You go anywhere else in the world and you shine a light on their issues compared to the United States issues, the United States issues start to pale in comparison. What do you think of when you think of this day?
Well, I mean, unfortunately to Dr. King, I usually revert to sports as well. Jackie's my number one there. I'm not old enough for your other scenarios. I mean, I was alive, but I was old enough.
I wasn't there in 1947 when he broke the color barrier. Okay? Just to be clear.
All right. After that, I'm going to go fuel up Andy's ball truck. But yeah, I revert back to that as well. Couldn't have said it better. And yeah, we're at least in this country allowed to express our, we start calling out our imperfections. You're allowed to do that and have those discussions. When you say they are pale in comparison, they are, because a lot of these countries, you're not able to even mention them. So yeah, USA is still the greatest country on this earth, hands down, bar none.
Today I noticed that there is it's on NBC Sports at noon. There's a hockey game, and then we get some basketball. I want to say it's a triple header tonight. I believe it starts like around 5 p.m.
You've got a full slate on NBA TV. 11 noon kickoff Eastern. I guess it'd be a tip off. Excuse me. Orlando and Knicks. Unless these have been canceled and I'm missing them, I'm just going through the what you can wager live.
NBA TV.
Yes.
Okay. The issue was last night when I went to go pull it up, there was no television on written over. I was wondering about that. Okay. And then what's on after that?
You got 1:30 or 2:30 Minnesota at Atlanta, and then flip over to TNT, of course, the one new channel I don't have. The Suns are at the Memphis Grizzlies. I still cannot watch the Grizzlies.
The Grizzlies may be on your local feed because they may come on like Fox Tennessee or a Fox Mid-South or something like that, because that would be a local game. So you may still get that. They might do dual coverage. Though usually when TNT picks it up, they have the exclusive rights, but I don't know when it's a holiday like this. They might both be carrying it. There's also a college hoops game tonight, or actually two pretty big ones. Florida State's playing Louisville. Florida State got another big win on Saturday. They should be back in the top 25. They dropped out, not because they were losing, because they weren't playing. Voters just, I think, said, well, get back to us when you start playing. So they won 2 last week. I would think they would sneak back into the top 25, and Louisville was 16th before the new poll comes out this morning. So that should be a good game, 7 o'clock. And then 9 o'clock, you've got Baylor and Kansas. So, I mean, it's a full day of sports. Are you off today?
The kids are out of school, so I'm working remote today. Yes. So no, not off, but don't have to travel in. There will be, full disclosure, I don't really need to acknowledge this, but there will be sports on my TV all day long while working.
Sure. Well, yeah,
there's a triple header in hockey. I mean, you've got all day hockey around the wall as
on
well.
NBC Sports. Is there a third one that I didn't see?
You've got the Boston Islander game at 4 p.m.
And is that on
NBC Sports Network?
Okay.
They've got the noon game, the 5 Eastern, and the 7:30 game.
Normally when I go to the
header.
app that I look this stuff on, it's updated really quickly. But last night, for whatever reason, there were games that didn't have television written on it. So, okay. All right, well, let's move on from that, and we'll go ahead and start the first quarter. Now, did you get that loud and clear?
I got it.
Sweet. Okay. That's the big thing that I was wondering is that I know it's coming in good on YouTube Live. I was wondering if y'all can hear it loud and clear. Me and my wife did some test runs last night and we to figure it out. And so first quarter begins, and man, you got to start off with the Chiefs Browns. Wow. First of all, the Chiefs lose Pat Mahomes, and that in itself is going to be an issue because when you lose him because of concussion, we all know he'll be going through protocols all week. And it'll be a real question mark whether or not he'll play on next Sunday. Now, Andy Reid said after the game that he was fine and they would take a look at him today. But he has to pass tests from an independent arbitrator. So that's going to be a huge deal, but we'll be able to get into that later in the week. The game itself, he goes out. Cleveland had just scored to make it 19-10, and he comes out of the game, and all of a sudden they've got real life, right? And first of all, Chad Henne played incredible. That's what you want out of a backup quarterback. There's a lot of teams who had Chad Henne as a starting quarterback, so where the hell was this? But that's not the point. The point is Chad Henne as a backup quarterback did a hell of a job, and you can't dismiss the fact that he's got a better roster around him than what he's had in other stops. So you know he's just a part of what their
roster aside or not, he made throws that those were starting quarterback in the postseason throws. I mean, he threaded the needle to Kelsey.
In the run that he made to get it to 4th and inches, and then Andy Reid going for it.
He went Pedro Serrano straight up.
I mean, he not only does he go for it, he goes shotgun formation and throws the ball. I thought it's funny because Tony Romo, no one's ever going to bring this up because, Tony Romo could do no wrong in the eyes of the media. But Romo's in the middle. He's like mid-sentence saying, well, you can tell they're not going for it. Look at their body language. And then the ball snaps. And I was like, you ought to see my body language right now because I started puckering. I was like, oh, they actually snapped the ball. And then he throws it. And I was like, oh, my God. Because if they don't get that there, they're going to be sitting at midfield up by less than one score. And I think if they don't get that, Cleveland's going to take the ball and they're going to have a very good chance to march it down the field. Because at that point, there would have been just under 2 minutes left, right? He throws a little out pass. And of course, who else would you want to throw to other than Tyreek Hill? Because first of all, you can't guard the guy. That's the biggest issue. And then, of course, Tyreek Hill famously has good hands, so it's not like you're expecting old skillet hands or something like that to drop the ball over there. But the point is they went for it. He makes the call with his backup quarterback, and the rest is history. After that, it's just kneel downs. But wow, what a game. What say you?
I could tell you what truthfully happened, but I don't need dog pound down here in my front yard today. But somebody I know may have had a little in-game wager at a plus 340 on the Browns money line on the comeback before it was adjusted. And yeah, I sealed their fate and I apologize. Got the plus 10.5 though. So thank you for that. But, I just the confidence in Reid and his backup quarterback to even snap the ball there. And I think that's why he did it. I think he realized that, I'd be willing to, I don't think he'll ever tell us until after the season, but I hope he gets asked the question as to what was called on that snap. Cause I think he gave them the freedom to, if you see that defense thinking we're just running the clock out and they're laid back, not aggressive, I want you to snap it. And I think he actually did it. I don't know if it was the perfect intention for them to roll up and do that. I think Tony Romo was right in his call. They initially probably were not going to snap that ball, and they saw something in that defense that said they weren't coming. And wow, that's all I got to say about that. I don't know how he makes that, but I guess he has to. He knows he's on the line. He's not winning. a shootout against them, and probably can't run back down the field if Baker takes the Browns down and scores, because they were up 5. They were down 5 at that point, so they're going to be down at least 2, probably 1 to 3, because I would think the Browns would go for 2 to try and make it a 3-point ball game.
There probably wouldn't be any time left on the clock. So you're basically, what you're really doing, though, if you don't get it, what would have came out of it was you don't trust your defense to stop their offense to go probably somewhere between 80 to 90 yards.
I don't think the way that they were playing in that game that they did. Well, a lot of people aren't talking about, remember the fumble into the end zone right before the half that Green Bay should have had the touchdown, or Cleveland should have had the touchdown, and they fumble and get the touchback. I mean, that game wasn't as close as that 19-3. A lot of people saw that tuned in for the second half of that game.
Right.
So I mean, I think the Browns were moving the ball successfully on the defense. I don't think he had confidence in them.
I don't think they would have scored, though. I'll be perfectly honest with you. You give me the length of the field, because first of all, they've got to score a touchdown. A field goal's not going to do you any good. They've got to score a touchdown. And with that being said, when you have to go 90 yards, I'm going to guess that's about where they would have went, somewhere in the 90-yard range, right? No timeouts. And Baker's not been really known to be that kind of a field general, not to mention the fact we forget, like, he doesn't even have his best receiver. OBJ's not there. So he's doing this with I don't want to say scrubs, but he's not doing this with his best athletes on the field. And they're a running team to begin with. When you take away the option of the run, which obviously is out the door when he's going to get the ball with like 90 seconds left and 90 yards to go, that kind of takes it out of his hands. Or actually puts it in his hands. He's going to have to throw up and down the field. It would have been interesting. I don't think that they would have gotten in the end zone. I think they would have been very, very, hell, it wouldn't have surprised me if they went 4 and out, to be honest with you, because Kansas City's defense would have been able to to pin their ears back. I was just really, really shocked that he did not punt it and lean on his defense. What it tells you is down the road, and maybe Andy Reid thinks of it, I'm playing with house money now. I think Andy Reid back in Philadelphia probably punts that ball. But he's a god now in Kansas City. First of all, Kansas City press is a lot different than Philadelphia press. And he's defending world champion. So if he doesn't get it, he can basically step there and say, shut the hell up. You don't know what you're talking about. But the play was a great play design. And I feel like he was probably going all the way he was going for. The only thing that would have changed it is that maybe he tells Henny, if you see X defense, don't snap the ball. Right. But they look like that they were in some kind of a zone. And when they move Hill in motion, I think it was already, if you don't see a lot of movement, snap it, because all we need is that half yard. And it's funny because from the blind eye, I thought he got it from the dive. And then when you come back, it looks like it was probably a good call. But what a run that was. And dove head first. I mean, it reminded me of like
the third string QB.
Not entertained. It was incredible. Everybody's going to remember that 4th down play, but it's a shame because what did it? What was it? Was it like 3rd and 19 or something? It was 3rd and forever. I know that.
I think it was 12 or 14. Yeah, because there was a sack or something that had moved them back, and he just took off. And I didn't think he'd get there, but nobody picked him up, and there it is. Great run. Don't take anything away from him. I mean, I was pulling for the Browns to make the comeback. I had a financial interest there, but aside from that, man, we've called it a chink in the armor the past 6 weeks that, the Chiefs just aren't there. They're not the same team. They've got hiccups, but you can knock their quarterback in, you can put in their backup, and they still find a way to win. Is that a chink in the armor, or is that just they're that good that they can play at 3/4 strength and still beat NFL teams?
Well, I think, first of all, it's an indictment on the fact that the Browns are still a little ways away.
True.
But they're coming, baby. They're coming. If anyone's doubting the Browns in 2022, they're going to
Steeler fans better take notice.
They're going to get OBJ back, and I would think they're going to address the fact that Landry is solid, but you want another dynamic receiver out there with OBJ and Landry in 2021. Not take anything away from Rashard Higgins, but you need something else to make that offense go. I think they're fine at tight end. They're obviously loaded at running back. They need something. It's a bad comparison to say they need a Tyreek Hill type, but they need something. They need something like a more Carl Harbin type, something to make you have to cover yet another part of the field. Right now, they're pretty bland, vanilla type of offense. You need a little spice in there, but they are coming. Yeah, Steelers better take notice. The Ravens
better take note. Absolutely.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, from top to bottom, I expect the Bengals to be better next year. That division is going to let the Bengals, who sit at 5th in the draft, let it fall to them with Devontae Smith, and look out. You'll have Devontae Smith, T. Higgins, and hopefully a healthy Joe Burrow. That's going to be a dangerous squad in its own right. And of course, Joe Mixon will be back healthy. We assume. So the AFC Central is going to be just loaded next year. Moving on to the next game, of course, the game that everyone was looking forward to so much. And I had that upset came out that it would have been like, that's all we'd be talking about this morning. But Bucks, Saints, we get one hell of a game there. And we expected all of this shootout, the gamesmanship of Brady versus the Saints, that Saints defense. Can Brady get through? And what happens? The Tampa Bay Buccaneer defense ends up being the hero of the game, forcing turnovers, getting big plays, not backing down. In the middle of the game, there were a lot of pushing and shoving and a lot of extracurricular activity, as they always like to say. I was impressed by the Buccaneers defense standing up and saying, we're not going to get ran out this damn building like we have the first 2 times we played you this year.
Yeah, if Arthur Smith would have just coached his position the way Todd Bowles coached his, maybe the Titans would have still been in the playoffs. But anyway, I'm through being salty over that. I thought it was a great defensive game by the Buccaneers, and just goes to show you it's hard to beat a team twice, let alone 3 times in a season. Unless you're playing the Jaguars, you just don't beat a team 3 times.
Brady played an efficient game. I thought Leonard Fournette played a really good game. Yeah. He had a big hand into why Tampa Bay is moving on. It looks like Jones just isn't quite healthy. It'll be interesting to see how much they can get out of him in the championship game against Green Bay, because I think they're going to need a healthy Ronald Jones to be able to. They need more than just Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette, good running back, solid running back, power running back, but they need like that thunder and lightning kind of thing going on. That long run that he made, that got called back. That's the kind of stuff that Jones can do. That Leonard Fournette, I don't know if that's still in his repertoire. We remember him rumbling down the field 3-4 years ago against the Steelers, I believe it was in the playoffs, where he had the big run in Pittsburgh, but that's a long time gone. He's now a churner. He's a running back that, and ain't nothing wrong with that, because you need that power back that's going to get you the look. But from the line of scrimmage to 15 yards, he's as good as anyone in the NFL. And let's be honest, most runs are that long, but Jones has that extra gear which you have to apply for. So that, and when we start talking about Green Bay versus Tampa Bay later in the week, the first thing that's going to jump off the page at you is all the weapons that Tampa Bay has, but are they going to be able to keep up with the Packers in that offense? Because I don't think we'll see a defensive struggle in this one. I think that game's going to be fairly high scoring. I don't think it's going to be ridiculous. I'm not saying it's going to be like a 55-50 shootout, but I think you're going to have to score 30 points to win that game on Sunday for sure, and maybe 35. And you know that game could get up in the 40s, but usually NFL games there's the game script in NFL games usually doesn't get you to that many points. That game with Tampa Bay, what's the biggest good you're taking away from it, and then what's your biggest question mark?
Well, I mean, I think that the defense for Tampa Bay can the good for them is I think that they've shown a way that they can take on an elite offense and actually control the line of scrimmage. Do it now. They did it in a dome. Can they do that in Lambeau Field? That's going to be the biggest question there. The upside that I'm curious to watch for the Bucs is I have to think that your number one, your Evans, probably going to take a step back playing in the cold weather. We don't know what the precipitation, if any, will be. So, do you go to your experience there in Brady, Gronk? How healthy is Antonio Brown? Because those three have played in northern teams and played in those environments. So Lambeau's not as big of a listen. It's still going to be advantage Packers. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying it's going to be less intimidating to those three. And can those three become the big three for the Tampa Bay Bucs and settle everybody else in? If they can do that, then maybe they have a chance to compete in a shootout. I think we've seen the Rams' best defense in the league went in there, and they gave Green Bay some problems, but Aaron Rodgers just sat back there, did his little slide step left or right, avoided pressure, and made an accurate throw and just kept moving the chains. I mean, he picked them apart. You got to think it's going to be more of the same. So you're going to need, it's like you alluded to, it's going to be more of a shootout. What can Tom dial up and get him? He can't play a half of football and be disorganized like they were in the first half against the Saints. That offense wasn't clicking. They've got to come out rolling on all cylinders.
And we're going to talk about Packers Rams on the other side of the break. But the one thing I'm going to say about that real quick on this is if Jalen Ramsey can't shut down Devontae Adams, there's not much of a chance that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers secondary is going to. And although Ramsey, I thought, did a good job, Adams still got his yards, right? Even when they got there on the goal line, they found a way to get him open. So that's why, we're talking about having to score with the Packers. They're going to have to score. Now, they are saying 25 degrees, good chance of snow this coming Sunday in Lambeau Field. So I don't know if that might actually work into Brady's favor to a degree, strangely enough. First of all, Brady's played in cold. He's just going to have to get his boys when they get on that plane, say, when you got to get off that plane, you have to be mentally prepared and say, this is not going to affect me. And then I think that he can give them insight on what it's like to play in snow. Because there are players that haven't played in snow. Hell, Lamar Jackson talked about it last weekend. He had never played in snow when they were saying, are you worried about playing in the snow? Of course, it ends up being the wind that messed him up in Buffalo. But not playing in snow is kind of a big deal. And they come from colleges all over. But if they came from a Southern college and they've been playing for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I mean, how much snow has Leonard Fournette played in? LSU, Jaguars, Tampa Bay. It's not a lot. I can tell you that. So that's it's going to be interesting to see how the whole thing unfolds in that game script, which, obviously we'll get into this later on in the week, but it's going to be interesting from the standpoint of when that game gets going and it doesn't go Tampa Bay's way. How do they adjust and be able to stick with their game plan? I do believe Brady can do it, because if there's one guy you're not going to fluster, it's Brady. But we saw a couple times this year where the Buccaneers did get flustered, and it may not have all been Brady. It might have been some Brady, but regardless, the second game against the Saints, they had 2 or 3 really bad possessions at the beginning. It was a wrap. It was over. You knew by the middle of the second quarter that game was over. So there's a lot of great storylines that they're going to be coming this NFL week.
Tom Brady's one win away from another Super Bowl. Who would have thought?
This is his 14th, y'all. 14th conference championship game.
Has he ever been an underdog in this? Has he ever been an underdog like this one? Can you think of one off the top of your head?
A big one?
Other than one of the first ones, because, I mean, obviously we didn't know what we were dealing with then, but
he was a sizable underdog against Denver with when Manning was there, because that defense was so elite. And I want to say he was a sizable underdog against Denver 2 times. Of course, the first time
they had the quarterback. Second time it was all the defense. If you're making the Manning runs.
Right. But what I'm saying is that both times it was Manning. I think he was a sizable, because I want to say both games took place in Denver. So I don't expect them to be more than about somewhere around a 6-point underdog going into this game. So I'd say that was about where it was. As far as early in his career, definitely early in his career,
yeah.
There were a couple of times. Because first of all, even though they were the home team, everyone was still doubting Brady in the Tuck Rule Bowl. And they would have played in the Super Bowl, he was a huge underdog against the Rams. No one thought that was going to. So, I mean,
I had glossed over the Denver. I remember back early on, he had some dog matchups in the championship game, but going into this one, I mean, Green Bay is going to be a huge favorite. I don't know what the points will be on it. You're probably right. They're not going to let it be a runaway one side or the other to control the bets. But I'd say you're right though. Denver is probably the last one, and I just overlooked it.
They were expecting Tampa Bay or the Saints to be about a 4.5-point underdog when the lines opened last night, and I bet a lot of money went on Green Bay. So I'm going to guess it's going to settle in somewhere around 6 points. But let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Saturday's games, and then we got some other things to hit up on, including the New York Yankees went New York Yankees about it. We'll be back in a flash here on the Armchair Quarterbacks.
The Almighty says this must be a fashionable fight. It's drawn the finest people.
Weekends in the fall just got a hell of a lot better. Saturday mornings, it's Dixie Football Nation, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. We talk SEC, ACC, the Big Ten, and more. It's the only true Southern football kickoff show on Facebook Live. You don't want to miss it. And now on Sunday mornings at a new time, we're going 11 a.m. Eastern to noon Eastern with the NFL Fantasy Football Stardom Situm Pick'em Show. We do DFS, season-long fantasy, and we keep a winning record against the spread. 8 to 9 Eastern Saturdays, 11 to noon on Sundays. The Armchair Quarterbacks have got you covered all football season long. Let's face it, where you're betting is just as important as who you're betting on. That's why I go to mybookie.ag. It's fast, it's easy, and they pay you when you win. Look, I wouldn't be telling you to bet mybookie.ag if they weren't the best. Do the smart thing. If you're going to bet this football season, bet with mybookie.ag. Promo code SKIN. That's SKIN. When you use that promo code, MyBookie will match 100% of your deposit up to $1,000. That's mybookie.ag, promo code SKIN.
Hey there, pal. First draft?
How can you tell?
Look, there's a few things you're going to want to know. Kickers go fast. You're going to take one early. And don't worry about running backs. You can always trade for one later.
Cool, thanks.
And one more thing. It's good to have you here. You're my friend.
Armchair.
The Armchair Quarterback Show, weekdays, coast to coast, Southern Sports Talk Radio. Find us on Facebook Live today and tap that Armchair Quarterbacks app. Your first choice for sports talk, live from the First Coast.
If you can make a hit in a ball game, you can make a hit with me.
ACC football covered like no other here on the Armchair Quarterbacks.
Out of the shotgun, third down and about 10. Ward getting some pressure, getting more, gets it away. He's got Fryer wide open. Touchdown, Florida State. That's what Ward will do to you.
Georgia Tech 45, Nebraska 21. It's now up to the voters. They look like the number one, don't they?
All right, 6 seconds to go. Maurer throws it up for grabs. There's 5 defenders back there, and Mitt knocks it down. The game runs out, and Clemson wins the national championship of college football.
This is for the national championship for Nebraska. And for Miami, an absolutely miracle year. The dream season as they come back from a bad loss opening day to go to 11 straight wins, and in all probability, when the votes are in, a first ever national championship for the Hurricane.
Ray, when someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes.
You know, Justin, speaking of that Rashard Higgins fumble that rolled out the back of the end zone where Cleveland could have taken the lead, or not taken the lead, but, well, essentially that could have won the game when you fast forward. I still hate that damn rule. I hate it with everything in me. That the fact that
I don't get why it's a touchback. I mean, I get because you lose possession through the end zone, but shouldn't you? I don't know. You had possession of the ball all the way down there. The other team didn't take it from you. That was a lost fumble. It wasn't even a takeaway. Shouldn't you get it where you were out of bounds at? Like, shouldn't have been.
Okay, so that's my thing is if it goes out of bounds anywhere else on the field, it comes back to the spot of the foul or there's a spot where the fumble occurred and you get the ball there. For it to go out the back of the end zone and you give it to the defensive team on the 20, I think it's asinine. I could almost live with you give it to the defensive team, but it should go. They should get the ball wherever he fumbled it at, right? Because
fair enough.
To go all the way up to the 20, now you've rewarded. Okay, they've done nothing to stop you. The ball just happens to come out of your hand, and especially nowadays with them reaching for the pylon stuff, I think the competition committee really needs to look at that because I think the offensive players should probably, especially the way every single rule is now in favor of the offense. I think it's going to eventually get changed to where the offensive team retains possession. But if you're going to give it to the team, to the recovering team, why the hell is it the 20? I mean, if you want to make it, well, it's got to be one. Okay, they make it the 5 because make it the 1.
I mean, I think it should just simply be at the 1. I mean, that's where you lost it at.
Right.
There's no yardage there. I mean, if you can't clear cut, because most of these that we're in question about, I mean, and I even understand, okay, the defense gets the ball, they knock away, they couldn't recover it, and it gets kicked through there. Okay, you at least did something. But when these guys are trying to score these touchdowns, and now with all you got to do is break the plane, you see more and more of guys stretching out, and we're seeing these fumbles. I just don't know why you reward the defense for that. They didn't do anything. They couldn't even tackle the guy. The guy was so close to scoring, he jumped for it. I mean, you weren't there to take him away or slow him down or prevent him from getting to that point of the field. Why are you rewarded the ball? And if you are rewarded, why the hell do you get an extra 19 yards? I don't know what you get out of that. I don't know why.
It's really strange. I get it why if you block a punt and it rolls out the back of the end zone, it's a safety. I get that.
Yeah.
That's totally different. But when you originally had possession of the ball and you've taken it all the way down to the 1 foot line, essentially, and you fumble it and it goes into the end zone, either bring it back to where it was fumbled or give them the ball where it was fumbled. Give the defense the ball where it was fumbled because you kill the entire momentum of the game. It's basically, look, these rules used to be in place because they wanted to make it very difficult to score. Now the NFL has changed wholeheartedly. Now there are going to be times where our team is going to gain from that, and we're going to be glad that the rule is the rule, right? But in general, you take team A, team B, and I don't have a rooting interest in it. I just don't think the damn thing is fair. It's just it's a goofy rule. when it's all said and done, and it's something that should be changed. I'm trying to think of something that I think that might be the worst rule in sport, but it's one of those rules that it's just like, what? It's 2021 and we haven't changed this yet. The hell's going on? We will go and change what is a catch and what not is a catch 55 times over the next 10 years, but we leave this stupid rule. That's what's dumbfounding to me. Let's go ahead and hit the second quarter fast break as here on the Armchair Quarterbacks.
Fast break. He starts the fast break with plenty of room in front of him. Here they go again. It's showtime.
So here we go. The Bills and Baltimore game. Obviously, the big thing that changed that was the pick six. It wasn't Lamar Jackson getting a case of the runs again or whatever he ran in the locker room. It's like, dude, that guy's just missing a chance at a Pepto ad. I'm telling you. Everyone's going to try to point to that, but honest, Andrew, when he threw that pick six, it was Katie bar the door, and then they get the ball back, and he was lucky on a couple other plays that didn't get disastrous. Everyone in the mainstream media blows up Lamar Jackson to be a better quarterback than what he is. I think he has the ability to one day be a really good quarterback, but he's not at this point. He is an incredible athlete. And that's where it stops. That pass that he threw, look, guys will make mistakes, but that was like a rookie mistake that he made. It was triple coverage. Granted, he probably didn't see the guy that picked the pass. Doesn't matter. It was triple coverage. Should have never went into that area anyways. And there was a fourth guy off to the right that was in the vicinity. That means somebody was wide open. By definition, somebody was wide open. And he locked in to Andrews like he does and watches him from the snap of the ball until he decides to throw it, and that entire Buffalo defense read it. And what an incredible run that was. When he came out of the end zone, I was like, what is he doing? And then all of a sudden, we're like, man, this dude's got wheels. And he was just dust. I mean, Lamar Jackson couldn't run him down.
It's almost as like he's a running back who played quarterback in college, and it just hasn't transitioned. It's like a continuous wildcat. I don't get it either. I question the arm strength. Well, not the arm strength, just the accuracy there and the decision making in the pocket. Yeah, I mean, he's a great athlete. He's going to break runs. He's going to get his, and he's going to eat you up with some deep balls. He's going to connect on some of them. He's got a fantastic arm, but he's not going to sit back there and pick a defense apart the way that Aaron Rodgers does. Aaron Rodgers can take you for chunks, or he can just take these little bitty dump-off plays all day long, kind of Brady-esque. We've seen him beat you either way. I just don't see Lamar being that quarterback that can sit there, because the Bills went in with one game plan: take away Lamar's legs, or at least to limit his damage, and we're going to cover Mark Andrews. We're not going to give him a safety blanket, and we're going to make him beat us with his arms somewhere else. And that equated to 3 points on the scoreboard, and that's exactly what the Bills did.
I say it all the time, and I'm going to say it again. Lamar Jackson is a hell of a tailback with a strong arm at this point in his career, and that's all he is. He is not – they try to put him in the same breath as like Deshaun Watson, because Deshaun Watson is an athlete, but Deshaun Watson is a quarterback. Deshaun Watson will pick your ass apart.
Yeah.
And – we'll get into it later in the week when we have time, but there are a lot of rumors swirling around. Deshaun Watson could be headed to, and one of the biggest one is he could be headed to the New York Jets for the number 2 pick overall. And wouldn't that be something? They've talked about him going to the Dolphins for Tua, but I think if I'm Houston, I'd rather start over, because Tua does not look very impressive to me for year one. I think he can be good down the road, but I don't want a project. If I want a project, let me start over year one and just go from there.
Let me guess, the Colts will trade up and get the third quarterback in their thing. I mean, what have we done to deserve this? Trevor Lawrence, possibly. I guess it would be Fields or Wilson at that point. And, I mean, let's just go ahead and have the Colts go ahead and get them some youth in there too, and Titans can go back to the bottom of the league again. We finally got that championship, though.
Well, if it's not a Super Bowl championship,
Realignment. We need division realignment.
No one ever remembers a division championship in football. By the way,
hey, Titans fan.
Happy birthday to Brian Cook. It's Brian's birthday today. He's watching. Switching gears to the Rams Green Bay, that deep pass late. That was the backbreaker. I was a little surprised that it was that close that late, because if you take that play away, the Rams would have had a shot there at the end. And I was also impressed with the play of Akers, and I was surprised that McVay didn't use him a little more. I know he got 90 yards, but I felt like he was really churning the ball out, and he's one of those players you got to keep feeding. When you look at the Rams going into 2021, if they're going to get back to where they were a couple of years ago, what is the biggest thing that you think that they have to address? Because I don't think Goff is going anywhere.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be Goff going anywhere. Sounds stupid, but they need an elite number one. I think they've got their running back in Akers. I think they can make that work. Maybe you add a contributing factor or you use something out of the stable you already have. But are Woods and Kupp, either one, elite number one?
No, I'd say Woods is
when you're stacked up against their division, just look at their division. They're going to need it to win them. I mean, look at the weapons you've got at the Cardinals, at the Seahawks, and the 49ers for that matter. You need that elite one. Now, the 49ers, you could argue, could be in the same situation, but they've also got a George Kittle. I mean, he might as well be an elite number one.
Yeah, they've got Kittle, and they got a stable of running backs that
Woods I would put there. I'm not sold on Kupp. I didn't have a lot of fantasy ownership this year, so I didn't watch Kupp week in and week out. I had a lot more of Woods this season, so I'm a little bit more familiar with it. Woods I'll put there. I don't know where Kupp is on that. I think Woods had a better season. I would think I'm going to lean he's probably the number one, but I get people that some feel that Kupp is. But you shouldn't have that distinction on your team. Who is your elite number one? You should know that.
It's 1 and 1A, but the biggest issue is neither one of them is elite, right? They're low end number one receivers. They are not someone, because when I think of a number one receiver, I'm thinking of someone who's physically gifted along with polished routes that you have to game plan around. You're not game planning around Cooper Kupp. As good of a receiver as is, you're not breaking the game plan for him. And he was having bigger days in fantasy in years past when people weren't taking him serious. Now that they take him seriously, he's a great, I don't know if we would call him a possession receiver, but he's definitely not a deep threat. So he's a little bit of a hybrid. And then Woods is a solid number one, but I think on a lot of teams, he would probably be your number two. I think on Cooper Kupp, he would probably be a number two on a lot of teams. Because when I think of a number one, I think of a team, of a guy that you just you can't put one defensive back on. You've got a game plan against. So that's considering all the receivers that come out of every draft. And of course, we're almost at draft season, so it'll be fun to speculate on that here in the very near future. But I think that might be where they have to go in round number one, at least early on in the draft. The Rams have got to address the fact that they've got a good defense, and you obviously still want to continue to build it. You don't just abandon the depth of your defense, et cetera. But if you've got your running back and you've got a solid wide receiver core, and I think they've got I think their offensive line is doing a good job as well, pass and run blocking. They're going to have to try to make some kind of a move to get, they're not going to get a Devontae Smith. He's not going to be available, but you've got to be able to get something electric. You know what would be scary for McVay to get a hold of would be the kid out of Florida, Pitts. But I think he's going to go pretty high too. But that would be scary, because if you could have Pitts on the field as a tight end, still don't really look at him as a tight end, but he's a quote unquote hybrid tight end. If you have him on the field and those two Pro Bowl receivers. And then you got Akers. Goff just has to facilitate it. And oh, by the way, you're probably not scoring more than about 17, 20 points against that defense on any given Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, that's a 21-point offense all season long. I mean, that's what you're thinking is let's get 3 touchdowns. I mean, that's what I go into games because I don't see that defense taking a step back. I mean, they've contractually got everybody locked up they need right now. They'll have some questions after next season. They're going to have to do a lot to keep it back together, but they should be good for the 21 season.
Pitts would make that defense. I mean, it would make that offense elite. It would be scary to see them get a hold of them. No, I haven't gone into how many picks they have and what they could do to maneuver to get up there, but that was just off the top of my head of like, wow, if you could put an explosive tight end type in there, because then you get the middle of the field, and of course he works all sides. Moving on from that, you've got the real quick baseball news that the people may have missed. Yankees, DJ LeMahieu, and then they had Corey Kluber over the weekend. So in a couple of days,
and they didn't trade Clint Frazier. Did you hear that mess?
What's that?
Did you hear the Clint Frazier rumors over the weekend?
Which one? Because
they were going to trade him for one of the Reds pitchers, and he come out. He had to tweet out and was like, "I ain't going nowhere." Don't believe this. I just thought that was very entertaining that a Yankee player has to come out and save his own trade status on Twitter.
Well, you know what's interesting about that is Luis Castillo is the Reds pitcher that everybody's talking about that could be getting traded. And there's like 8 teams out there. And one of the teams near and dear to our hearts, the Atlanta Braves. And that kid's got electric stuff. Now, what they would want for that's always the question. When they dangle a carrot like that out there to say this guy's up for a trade,
they're not offering deals.
Right.
Sitting bargain shopping. It ain't cost plus 10.
You're not getting them for Camargo, okay? That's just not the way it goes.
What about if I Luke Jackson that and sweeten the pot?
Right. Now, look, could we talk them into Luke Jackson, Camargo, and Kyle Wright? Maybe sign me up, right? But they're going to want at least one guy that is, in their mind, an elite prospect that they can control for several years. And we did not name one at all in the last 90 seconds.
No.
I just tell you that right now. But some people might still have high hopes for Kyle Wright, but the Luke Jackson train, the Camargo train, that thing is sailed. If you're gonna trade them, you should have traded them a couple of years ago when you had the opportunity. Now you're going, what do we have down here in the mind? Because Atlanta's not going to give up Ian Anderson, and that's the type of thing they're going to want. But what good does that do Atlanta? So it's either going to be.
I mean, Bryce Wilson would be another one that they might come after, but I mean, we don't know enough about him. Is there enough value for him to warrant a trade like that? And to be honest, what I saw out of the postseason and his nerves, I don't know that I want to cough him up.
No, and if you give up Wilson, you're probably going to have to give up something else expensive too, because
right.
You're probably going to have to go Wilson, Kyle Wright, and then scarily enough, you might have to give up another key piece. I'm not saying it's necessarily got to be like a Drew Waters or Pache, but it's going to be something that's going to sting a little bit.
Anybody need a Gold Glove outfielder? I mean, we've got one of them to spare.
Can we convince him that Luke Jackson's a closer? It's like, dude, you know how many saves he had in 2019?
We need Ender to come out and just rip the cover off the ball in spring training.
Pay no attention to how many saves he created over the last several years, because he'd come in with a 5-run lead and it wouldn't be when he left. But do you know how many games are won by the Braves that Luke Jackson has been in? They're won in extra innings because he's blown a 4-run lead in the ninth with 2 outs. But we win a lot of games that he's in, man. He's just, come on. The Yankees, though, just like that overnight, become the Yankees again. They get their guy LeMahieu, and if someone's going to have a resurrected career, it's going to be Kluber in a pinstripes. And if he goes out and pitches elite Kluber type stuff for 1 year, $11 million. I just want to reiterate, 1 year, $11 million. Drew Smiley by the Atlanta Braves, 1 year, $11 million. We could have had Corey Kluber, for Christ's sake, for the same amount of money that we got Drew Smiley.
Oh, we don't sign players coming off injuries. We sign them to get injured. I mean, that's what happens.
Well, we did. I mean, we did it with JD. Josh Donaldson was injury prone as hell when we signed him. Somehow he stayed healthy. But 1 year, 11. When I saw that number, that's the first thing that jumped in my mind. I was like, that's what we're paying Drew Smiley for. We got Drew Smiley. I'm still not convinced he's a real player. I swear, every time I hear Drew Smiley, I think of Guy Smiley from the Sesame Street.
I can't get out of my mind. I mean, with the movement of the Yankees this weekend, I'm just sitting back waiting for today and tomorrow. Like, Cohen's going to one up them. Like, I really think he's moved in there to say, no, you're not the biggest team in New York no more. I hope we see it this week as a Braves fan. I hope it's not too crushing. Hopefully we can overcome whatever he adds, but I really feel the Mets are not done dealing. And especially now that Yankees have made two decent moves.
It seems like a good fit. He's from the area. They've got the money. It is a big need for them. I don't know why it wouldn't happen. I guarantee you he's gonna match any damn offer that he gets. He's gonna be a smart businessman about it. But when you get to the final contract, he's going to be willing to. I guarantee you, the Mets have told Springer, before you sign with anybody, you check with us. I don't know why players don't lie. Players and agents just don't lie what someone else is offering.
I think there's probably an ethical rule against that. Maybe.
Who cares? But you get your one deal. So I called the Mets up today and I say, look, me and Justin are being offered 5-year, $45 million to become the voices of the New York Yankees or the Red Sox. We're going to let you match the offer. I'm going to give you 24 hours. Would we gain traction on that?
I think so.
Or would I consistently have to call back? Time's running out. I haven't heard back from you. Time's a ticking.
I'd probably be in here and be like, hey, man, take 544 from the Mets. I don't like either of the other two teams. It's going to be really tough to complete this contract with you. Don't like the Mets either, but I'd rather be there than the Yankees or Red Sox.
I'd go anywhere at this point.
Yeah, I would. I could. Yeah.
I'd sit in the booth with Boog with the Cubs and pretend like we really are on board about this David Ross hiring.
You just wait till I catch him on a hot mic about David Ross. I'm gonna bait him.
It's time for Sorry Dude. What you got this week?
Oh, I forgot my segment. Sorry, dude. Let you go first.
Baltimore. Sorry, dude. Kansas City's backup quarterback is greater than yours. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah. Mine truly has to be to Arthur Smith. Sorry, dude. You don't have the weapons you have in Atlanta. And I'm still pretty pissed at you for the way you walked off the field and didn't run the football against the Baltimore Ravens. They could only put up 20 points.
With that being said, same context, Bomani Jones. Sorry, dude. I'm not going to buy this narrative that you're trying to sell of Arthur Smith getting his job because of white privilege. You see this over the weekend?
No, I'm glad I missed it.
So he tried to make a comparison that the reason why, because are you aware of who Arthur Smith's dad is?
Yes.
Okay, well, I was not. I didn't know that he was.
He's a big wig with FedEx.
Yeah.
And part owner of the Washington Redskins, or he's affiliated with, the Washington football team.
Right. So, okay, I get it. His dad's like a CEO or something of FedEx. And I get that. But he tried to say that every job he ever got was because of his dad. Okay. So I look up Arthur Smith's job resume. After he left North Carolina as an offensive lineman, he became a grad assistant. And then at some point he took one of those roles with the Redskins for 1 year. It's one of those like jobs you're like, I don't know what the hell that is. Quality assistant. What the hell is that? It sounds like a paper pusher. Then after that, he goes back and he interns at his next job. He then goes, and I don't remember what organization it was with, but it was not with Washington. After that, he goes to the Tennessee Titans, and he worked his way through the ranks for 10 freaking years.
Yeah.
He had the number 2 offense in the NFL this year. You cannot say, look, we're not big Arthur Smith fans, but you cannot tell me that he got his job because of who his daddy is.
No, he's went from equipment manager all the way up. He served. He was I think the tight ends coach while Matt LaFleur was the offensive coordinator. Then he filled in that spot. I mean, he has gone through the ranks here at Tennessee. Yeah, I'm not laying claim to that one because he's had ample opportunity to go join the Washington football team. I mean, why didn't Daddy just hire his son to come replace Ron? Hired Ron Rivera, didn't he?
Right, and I think the implication was from Bomani was he got hired in Tennessee because FedEx is in Tennessee. Look, Bozo,
FedEx is everywhere.
Yeah, not to mention, well, I'm talking about the headquarters. But if you haven't figured this out, Nashville is not big on Memphis and vice versa. So that's not how he got his damn job. I can tell you that right now. All those years living in Nashville, when people refer to Memphis and vice versa, they don't even claim to be in the same state.
Well, here you go, Bomani Jones. Sorry, dude. The real reason is because Arthur Blank is tied to Home Depot, and they have the color orange. And Arthur Smith is tied to FedEx. They have the color orange. The real enemy is the color orange. Go Vols, baby. Woo!
Bomani just went Bomani about it. I mean, he's just, dude, just stay in your lane. You know what I'm saying? The next 2 exits are cancel culture in the NBA. Jump off on one of those. Get that. Quit trying to have a hot take, a racial hot take on every single thing that comes on in sports. How that jackass has not been fired from ESPN, I'll never understand. This is one of a million things that he has said in the last calendar year that is appalling. What's your walk-off, sir?
It's a shame I haven't heard Eric Bieniemy is going to be hired yet. Well, what's going on? Where's he going to land? Does he want to be an offensive coordinator in Nashville?
I can tell you this from a very, very good source. The interview with Jacksonville did not go well, and it is unfortunately been par for the course. And so you're going to hear, speaking of cancel culture, you're going to hear a lot of, he should have had a job by now. I heard it yesterday on the CBS NFL show. One of the guys on there was going on and on and on and going down that Bomani road, so to speak. He is not interviewing well at all, to the point where he's not getting callbacks. So this is what I would say to him. I'm sure he's got some kind of pride issue because most ex-athletes do. This next offseason, man, make that your damn goal. Go get whatever training you need. Take whatever classes you need. Get someone who's a specialist and says, this is how you're going to interview. Not like Kansas City's offense is going anywhere next year. Because evidently Pat Mahomes is big on him. So once you get him in the room, once you actually get him in your facility.
Well, it just sounds like he's an offensive guy, true, and he's just not well polished on the rest of the procedures and things you'll have to do as a head coach. It's just what it sounds like. It's probably a detail thing for the rest of the responsibilities, I guess to say.
Right, that's what I'm saying. The point of this whole thing is he's not doing a good job of actually nailing the interview. He's not even getting second calls back, which is really rare considering where he's at, right? And where we're at in the world, and everyone wants to hire Eric Bieniemy. They want him to do well, and yet it's not coming through. And the reason why it's not coming through, he's not interviewing well. I've managed a lot of restaurants. I've sat through a lot of bad interviews with people, and then some I've taken a risk on.
Well, you mentioned when we were on Friday, what brought it up was the Todd Bowles to Detroit, and we were talking about going offensive. Sorry there. But yeah, I would just say the Detroit situation, looking at Todd Bowles, we're retreading another defensive player in Detroit, and we know that we would like to see them more offensive or try something offensive. Just curious as to what's happening and preventing that from happening.
It doesn't sound like he's going to get another chance this year. And at some point he's got to make his mind up that this is important to him. And whenever they're eliminated, whether it's the Super Bowl championship or next week, it doesn't matter. The next day you start working on, you don't go to Cabo or whatever, you start working on your interview skills and make it a weekly thing. So you stay on top of it. Right. There's also the other thing. He could be getting a job offer and we don't know about it yet because
Correct.
It is not legal in the NFL for them to announce job hirings until a team is eliminated. That was added a couple of years ago because it was looked upon as distraction. All right, brother. Well, we will see you tomorrow, and have a great Martin Luther King's birthday. A lot of good sports on, which is nice because when there's no NFL Monday Night Football, sometimes Mondays are dud, but it's anything but today.
All right, guys. See y'all tomorrow.
Yes, sir. We'll be back at a flash here with the Armchair Quarterbacks. Red Raider Doug's joining us. Keep it locked in here on CBS Sports Radio and Armchair Quarterbacks YouTube Live.
CBS Sports
Radio. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on CBS Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good morning, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Martin Perez is heading back to the Boston Red Sox. He signs a 1-year deal worth $4.5 million, a $6 million option for 2022, or a $500,000 buyout. So the guarantee is of $5 million. Perez pitched 1 year for the Boston Red Sox. With their depleted rotation in 2020, he went 3-5 with a 4.5 ERA. Over the weekend, some head coaching jobs were filled in the National Football League officially. Jacksonville Jaguars get Urban Meyer. The Jets get Robert Saleh, former defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers. Arthur Smith, Tennessee's OC, he heads to Atlanta to become the new head coach for the Falcons. Jobs still wide open. Philadelphia, the Chargers, Houston, and Detroit, as they are awaiting more interviews. A note to be aware of: a National Football League assistant coach cannot accept a job until his team has been eliminated from the playoffs. Report coming out of Tampa, Florida: Rob Gronkowski has confirmed that he will return for the 2021 upcoming football season. Quote, "Yeah, you gotta. I feel like this team was built to win right now. It was put together this year to win right now." It always pops up in your mind. You're thinking about the future a little bit. I can definitely see this team also having a lot of talent come back and having another successful run next year with me. Rob Gronkowski will be 32 next season. Tom Brady, 44. Former Oakland A's pitcher Dave Stewart submitted a $115 million bid to buy the city of Oakland's share of the Coliseum, with plans to develop the site, according to the San Francisco Chronicle. With both the Warriors and Raiders leaving the site in recent years, the A's are the last professional team still using the Coliseum. The team has undergone steps to buy a new ballpark at Howard Terminal, about 7 miles uptown. The A's currently own the other half of the Coliseum. Stewart, 63 years old, played parts of 8 seasons in Oakland and helped the team win a World Series in 1989 and 2 more AL pennants. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for more of the Armchair Quarterbacks YouTube Live. Please like, subscribe, and share our show today. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for sports talk, live from the First Coast.
Make contact. A collective psychosis is sweeping the nation. We're in the thick of the haze craze, and Elysian is introducing an altered state of IPA. Contact Haze is a tangled chemistry of mild haze, low bitterness, and an explosion of hop aroma. This hazy IPA bursts with notes of bright raspberry, currant, citrus, guava, and passion fruit. Available in 6-pack cans in stores and in all Seattle Elysian locations. Make contact.
The Armchair Quarterbacks Wake-Up Show, the rock and roll of sports talk radio. So turn that auto-tune and mumble crap off from the other guys. Welcome back here to the Armchair Quarterbacks. As we've got Red Raider Doug joining us here on the Armchair Quarterbacks. Doug, how are you today, sir?
Doing good, thank you.
Don't be scared to mute yourself before you come on the air. We can hear your smoker's cough a mile away. I keep muting you, you keep unmuting yourself.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
It's simple logic there. We don't need to hear all your bodily functions going off. Okay. How was your weekend, sir?
Oh, did good. Good weekend so far.
What was your biggest takeaway from this past weekend? What was your favorite game?
The Cleveland Kansas City game was my favorite. Just my takeaway from that game is I don't think it matters who you put in quarterback, Patrick Mahomes or anybody else. Andy Reid's play calling is kind of where it's at with them.
Well, granted, he had a sizable lead when Mahomes came out, so it's not like they were actually outscored by Cleveland from Henny. Henny didn't get him in the end zone.
No,
they just held on. If that game starts out if Mahomes goes out in the first quarter, I don't think Kansas City wins that game. But man, what a hell of a performance by Henny. And we were talking about that in the first hour. That run, looking back on it, I wish so I was pulling for Cleveland, but now I wish he would have gotten the first down because that was a memorable run and it's going to get forgotten soon after that game because it didn't get the first down. If he gets that extra half yard,
yeah,
you're going to be that would go down in Kansas City lore. Now, if a kid asks about that particular playoff run, they're going to talk about Andy Reid going forward on fourth down with the backup quarterback. That run's going to be kind of forgotten about. I never realized Henny had those kinds of wheels. I mean, he's a decent athlete. He's backed up a few. He was a backup here in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And I never knew I never knew him to be an athlete. He's got some decent wheels. Not everyone, and a credit to Andy Reid as far as not only just trusting his quarterback in the end there to make that pass, but also you always wonder who the backups of these teams are when they get in there and they're forced to get in. And it seems like he's got a pretty decent option in Henny. I don't think you can win a Super Bowl if I don't think they could beat Buffalo next week if Patrick Mahomes is declared out. Right.
Yeah.
But as of right now, I would suspect he's going to play Pat Mahomes. You don't see him injured much, right? Like he had the injury bug a little bit like early last year, but I never even thought of what would happen if Mahomes got injured. It wasn't even like a thing to me, right? You think about it with the older quarterbacks that are still in, but guys like Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes, they almost seem invincible. That's going to be a huge. I think my favorite game of the weekend was probably the Bucs Saints game. The fact that the way they won it surprised me big. I honestly thought it'd be a little more of a shootout. Didn't surprise me that Tampa Bay won. Didn't surprise me they scored 30. What surprised me was how they got to 30. That defense turned the ball over. They created points, made a very short field for Brady and company. If they could create those kind of opportunities next week, they've got a fighting chance against Green Bay. I don't expect what I saw yesterday is an aging quarterback in Drew Brees that looked old yesterday. And I would suspect he's probably going to take some time to think about it, but I would suspect that was the last that we'll see of Drew Brees.
Mm-hmm.
He may come back for one more run, but he's hinted too much about it prior to that game about how he's at the end of his career. And when you start talking like that and you start knowing it, there's a much better chance that you're going to get in your mind to the place where you can walk away. Brady still isn't there. Brady, win, lose, or draw this weekend. Brady's coming back for 2021.
Yeah.
And I used to think he might, this coming year would be his last year. I think he has a very damn good chance that Brady's got at least 2 more seasons left.
Mm-hmm.
He's just, what was the great line they used? I guess that was on the Saturday night game. Buffalo. Did NBC do that game? Anyways, there was some game that Al Michaels did recently, NBC game, and maybe it was from the prior weekend. But Al Michaels had a great line that I guess they were re-quoting him because Chris Collinsworth brought it up, and he said, "What was it that you said about Tom Brady and Father Time earlier?" So I guess it's something he said earlier in the year, but I didn't hear it. He said, "People say that Father Time is undefeated, but Father Time doesn't know where Tom Brady lives, evidently." He does not have Tom Brady's address quite yet, because Brady's still, I mean, he's still the best I have ever seen in the game of getting the quarterback sneak. And you would think at 42, 43 years old, whatever he is now, you'd think at least that would slow down. That you wouldn't want to put in that mess. And he is still the best there is, because that is one of those plays where it's more about being able to see where you need to go at the snap. And Brady just has always had an instinct for that.
Yep.
I've always been very, very interested in how Brady did that, because I noticed it 5 to 7 years ago when he first started doing it on the regular. I was like, he is just smarter than the other quarterbacks, because before Brady came along doing it, and now they're all starting to learn, but Brady's still the best. They used to take the ball, the snap, and they would just kind of hide behind their center and go. And if that center got stopped, the quarterback got stopped. And Brady learned that when he took the snap, he keeps his head up, his eyes, and wherever the hole is, if it's to the left or to the right, it doesn't matter. He's only needing half a yard, and he just dives into there.
Mm-hmm.
I still enjoy watching him do This is one of the weird things you wouldn't think someone would get enjoyment. I still enjoy watching Tom Brady do quarterback sneaks, because he's that good at it. Because I'm telling you, before he did it, y'all, for younger people who might be listening out there, Tom Brady was the first to really master the quarterback sneak. Yeah, guys that could do it. Yeah, guys that were successful at it. But you go back just 20 years, 30 years, even the big athletes like John Elway, he's terrible at it. He was awful. He'd stick his nose in there and someone would jam him, and he'd probably go backwards half the time. Marino wouldn't even attempt it. You try to go tell Marino he's going to go quarterback sneak, he's saying, "No, I'm not. I'm going to throw the ball deep." I might fake like I'm going to. I might fake like I'm going to stop the clock, but I'm not going to actually stick my nose in there, and you've lost your damn mind. Anyways, what's the biggest question mark you got going forward next week in all these games?
Biggest question mark I got right now actually is can Tampa, can that defense replicate what they're going to do replicate what they did this week, next week against Green Bay? Because they're going to need to.
I would suspect no. I think if they get the W in Green Bay, TB12 is going to have to turn the clock back. I think you're going to, for Tampa to win, they will have to, I think he'll have to throw for 300 yards. Not hope to, have to. Because I don't think they're going to get the ground game going against Green Bay. And my biggest question mark with that game is, how do they keep up with them? Because we talked about this on the first hour, but if Jalen Ramsey couldn't shut down Devontae Adams, what hopes does Tampa Bay have? I mean, other than doing something dirty and late hitting him and put him in the concussion protocol, I'm sorry, but it's gonna be a long afternoon for that secondary. They've got decent receivers outside of Devontae Adams, but no one is like Devontae Adams. He's elite. It's Devontae Adams, and they got a bunch of 3s and 4s on their team. They don't have a number 2 receiver. No matter what they try to say, it's not Lazard, it's not MVS, it's no one. Hell, their number 2 receiver might be Robert Tonyan, but it's going to be a heavy dose of Adams. And when you start backing up, you start trying to cause zone blitzes and whatnot to try to offset that. Here's going to come Aaron Jones, and Aaron Jones is going to be tough to stop as well. He hasn't really gotten rolling yet in the playoffs, and he is a guy they're calling for a possibility of snow, 25 degrees at kickoff next Sunday afternoon. That's going to be. I think Tampa Bay's biggest thing is going to be can Robert Jones answer the call, because they're going to need Fournette and him.
Yeah.
You're going to want to try to slow that down. You're going to want to try to move the ball on the ground. I think TB12 is going to have to figure out a way to move it through the air, but they're going to want to move it on the ground.
Well, they in yesterday's game, they ran that tandem with him and Fournette didn't do that bad. So there's always that possibility of it.
Fournette carried him.
Yeah. And I can see if you got the heavy snow and you've got that a bad weather game, you might have to lean on that again.
If we end up with a game that is literally like a snow downpour, I think Fournette is your guy, because he's a churner, and that's, I mean, honestly, that's what I would want. Robert Jones is a guy that you want to get into space, but you're talking about between the tackles in the cold weather, keeping him honest. I want to pull up the stats real quick, because I'm curious to see the Bucks. They first of all, by the way, Bucks defense, incredible job shutting down Alvin Kamara. Kept him out of the end zone, held him to 85 yards. I mean, that right there was a hell of a performance by that defense across the board. 85 yards rushing and 20. They held him to 105 total yards. That's doing something against Alvin Kamara on that turf. But Fournette, he had 17 rushes, 63 yards. Ronald Jones, 13 rushes, 62 yards. So though Fournette did not carry the ball, did not average as much, he had more carries. He's going to be the guy they got to lean on. And remember, Ronald Jones ended up limping off the field after that long run that got called back. I'm curious to see if there's lingering effects from that this week. Fournette also had 5. I thought he did pretty good in the passing game. 5 catches, 44 yards. So Fournette had 107 yards. He had 107 yards that felt like that he was just a machine. And this is how good Kamara is. Kamara had 105 total yards, and you felt like he had a terrible day.
Yeah. But going back to that, with the Saints, it's like you said, and it was one of the things that just kind of made you sick watching just how bad the Saints were on offense. And you can't point to Kamara. It was Breeze through and through. I mean, they had four turnovers, 3 interceptions. I've never seen, in the entire time I've seen Breeze play, I've never seen him play as bad as he played yesterday. I've never seen him play that bad before in my life. I mean, he was missing passes.
It's age. I mean, he's gotten older. I don't think he has the arm strength that he does. And this has been coming for about 2 seasons. He has slowly become a lesser quarterback. He's been more of a guy that he's almost become a dinker and dunker. Breeze used to throw deep bombs on the money, but he's what, 42 years old now?
Mm-hmm.
That's just, it's just a sign of age. And although he's in pretty good shape, he didn't take care of himself the way Brady has, because he's a cyborg, came back from the future to teach us how to live. And Brady, that's why I think Brady's going to play. We scoffed at it before. I think he's at least going to play till he's 45. Unless a major injury happens, he's at least going to play till then, because he keeps himself in shape. And I don't see like a lack of zip on the ball for Brady. I still think the Bucs are a year away and they're going to get beat this weekend. But I do think that the Buccaneers become a Super Bowl favorite next year. You give them another year and a full off season with Brady and all those weapons, and that defense gets better 1 year better. Because they played great yesterday, but they have not been locked down all year long. That's going to be a dangerous team. Okay. So for people that are just getting in the know, the show is going to start ending a little earlier than normal. It's a long story, but we have to start ending it a little earlier than normal. We normally go till 10 Eastern. We're going to be going till about 9:40ish every day. And so I'm going to hit you with some rapid fires here real quick, and you're not prepared for this, but I'm just going to get you with what do you think is going to happen as we pour you your first beer on some belly up to the bar topics. The first one, the Saints in 2021, they get better if
they can find a replacement for Breeze.
Is Jameis Winston not it?
I don't think it's it. I think they got to hit that free agent mark.
I think it's going to be a combination of Winston and Taysom Hill. I think Sean Payton believes that he can pull it off.
I've never seen a 2-quarterback tandem work yet, so
I haven't either. But this is Sean Payton. I think it would be a situation where they almost got half the snaps, where you would have Winston be the traditional starter with a lot of packages with Taysom Hill. A lot of different packages. The next one. The Ravens get better if. What's the one thing they need?
Ravens get better if Lamar Jackson gets his head out of his butt. That's the best thing I can say about that. After watching that,
what's one addition that you would give to them?
Running back. They need a consistent, dominant running back.
I think they've got that in J.K. Dobbins. What I would try to go after if I were them, whether it's free agency or in the draft, they need another receiver, because Marquise Brown's not good enough to do it by himself. But you could turn Marquise Brown into a Tyreek Hill type if you had another receiver that you had to game plan. You don't have to game plan against freaking Willie Snead. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
They've got to get another receiver, another threat. Another threat doesn't mean that they're going, and it's going to be hard to entice some free agency. So you probably got to go to the draft, because I think most wide receivers who want to make sort of those like a Corey Davis, he doesn't want to go to Baltimore. He's just like, I'm going to be blocking the whole damn time. I'm not going to catch any passes. So you're going to have to get someone from the draft, but you need someone to put on the other side. The Rams need what for next year?
The Rams.
We already talked about this in hour number one, but I want to get your take.
With the Rams, wow. They need to keep on working on that offensive line, and maybe they need another quarterback. Defensively, they're sound.
I went with the fact that they need an explosive offensive weapon. They don't really have one. Akers is a solid running back, but you take the running back situation out. I just think Kupp and Woods are very good, but they need someone who's dynamic, someone you're really going to have to game plan, because it would open up Kupp and Woods. If they could find a way to trade up, I think the perfect answer is Kyle Pitts out of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Kyle Pitts out of Florida is going to go really, really high in the draft. So that'll be a difficult one. And then the last one, the Cleveland Browns, they make it to the AFC Championship game if they add what?
Ooh. I would say the same. Then I would have to say that with Cleveland. They need a dynamic receiver. They need a receiver. Jarvis Landry isn't cutting it. I mean, he may be a piece, but they need that. They need that heavier, that dynamic receiver.
I agree with that. They're going to get OBJ back, but they need someone along with it. Jarvis Landry needs to be that third guy in the offense.
Exactly.
And Rashard Higgins needs to be the fourth guy. They got to find that, and I'd say it's probably going to be through the draft. But I'll tell you who would be a good addition would be someone like a Corey Davis from Tennessee, because he's a free agent. If you added a Corey Davis to that offense, that could be what could send them over the top. They've got to have, because I think that defense is maturing and getting better and better. And I think you can build that through the draft. But the one thing you're going to have to build on to make him more explosive, if Andy Reid punts that ball and they get the ball around the 10-yard line with about 90 seconds to go and no timeouts, I still don't think. Well, actually, I think it would have been a minute 20 now that I'm thinking about it, because they would have ticked the clock back. I still don't think that Cleveland would have been a real threat to score a touchdown. Because all you have to do is essentially, well, first of all, you've eliminated the running game, which is where Cleveland lives on. They live off the play action pass. They've got to get something else going in there, because it's too difficult to ask Mayfield to do it all on his own.
Yeah.
All right, it is time to do the what you're watching, and then we're going to do the walk-offs. Let me go ahead and hit this up real quick. Little different way we're doing this. If I can find the stupid clip that I had, there we go. Okay, the weekend, or I'm sorry, what you're watching. Today, NBA, two big games I think of interest. 5 p.m. TNT, you got the Suns and Grizzly, and then Bucks Nets 7:30. Really good NBA game here on this Martin Luther King holiday. Lakers and Warriors, if you're up that late, will be at 10 o'clock. I will not stay up that late to watch an NBA game on a Monday night. College basketball, you got Louisville and Florida State on ESPN. It's a doubleheader with Kansas and Baylor, two teams in the top 10, squaring off both those games on ESPN. And then in the NHL, Columbus and Detroit on NBC Sports Network at noon. The game that I like the most here, by the way, Hurricanes Preds play tonight at 8 p.m., but that's not a national broadcast. Buffalo Sabres, Philadelphia Flyers on NBC Sports at 7:30. So that's what we're watching tonight. And it is time to turn back time and do our walk-off. So here we go. On this date in 1970, Gale Sayers plays in his 20th Pro Bowl. The West beats the East 16-13. No, I'm sorry, the 20th NFL Pro Bowl. I was like, that's not right. He didn't play in 20 damn seasons. Sorry. Gale Sayers was the MVP, and the defensive MVP was George Andre from the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know a whole hell of a lot. I don't know if you remember, but this was the big one. In this date, 1983, Jim Thorpe, his Olympic medals were restored by the IOC 70 years. Of course, he was long gone at that point. 70 years after they were taken from him because he was paid $25 to play semi-pro baseball, and that was against the rules. Such an asinine rule, because for decades before they gave Thorpe his medals back, the Eastern Bloc paid all their players. It was a job. It was literally a job.
Well, yeah, the hockey team was the Russian army, for crying out loud.
Yeah,
So,
it's Such an asinine rule. I mean, for it to take to 1983 for them to get it's ridiculous. IOC is always the worst.
Yeah.
Birthdays. All right, I got to circle this one. Obviously, he's long passed away in 1869. But on this date in 1779, Peter Mark Roget was born. He was from Great Britain, and he was a lexicographer, excuse me. But he is the one that came up with Roget's thesaurus, which thesaurus, man, I got tongue tied today. So you always see Roget's thesaurus. That was that guy. This guy also invented the slide rule and the chessboard. Hell of a damn inventor. The chessboard obviously takes us kind of into the world of sports. I know it's not big, but I found that interesting. I did not know the guy who created the thesaurus also created the modern day chessboard. I did not know that. It's pretty interesting. Also, happy birthday to someone who is still with us. Happy, man, is that right? That does not seem right. Happy 60th to Mark Messier. Of course, he was New York Rangers, Edmonton Oilers, great. I know he had already won championships with the Oilers, but I'll always remember him for when the Rangers won their first Stanley Cup in like decades. It was like 50 years at that point when he won it in 1984. And I thought, man, and so I'm an Islanders fan, so I'm anti-Rangers. And so I thought to myself, my God, are they going to start winning championship after championship? That team was incredible. And then they haven't won one since. So here we are. So he won that one. There was, I want to say it was like 50 years. It was at least 40 since they had won the previous cup. And here we are 27 years later, and they still haven't won a second one. But Mark Messier, he was a bad man. What is your walk-off for the day, sir?
Walk-off today is the Texans need to trade away Deshaun Watson and get the most value for him now. Because the longer they wait, I think the less value they're going to get. And if they're going to rebuild that team, as bad as their salary cap is, they need to get the most draft value out of them now.
I hate everything about this Deshaun Watson thing. I heard some idiot on CBS yesterday on the CBS Sports cable channel that they have.
Mm-hmm.
It was the NFL show. I always forget the name of the NFL show that they have, but it's called something like the Other Kickoff Show or something like that. Anyways, it comes on early before everything else does. And they have this older lady that was I think she worked at a front office somewhere. She might have been a writer. Anyways, she has the worst takes. And it's really it wouldn't be a bad show if they weren't always panning back to her in a Zoom room somewhere. And her take yesterday was that the Houston Texans needed to apologize to Deshaun Watson.
Okay.
For what? What the hell did this is my walk-off. What the hell did the Texans do to Deshaun Watson? Is it for firing the coach that traded away D-Hop, his best receiver? Or is it referring to the fact that, and this is his biggest complaint, he was not involved in the hiring process of the general manager, the new general manager, Cassio? You're a quarterback. The hell do you know about hiring general managers for a football team?
Yeah.
This is some NBA. What was that noise? You still there?
Yeah, I'm right here.
It's like a pop or something. It scared the hell out of me. But there was, I mean, this is the type of thing that this is NBA culture. He's the quarterback, so he has the right to begin. Basically, if they cave, this is the beginning of NFL players thinking that they're NBA players.
Yeah.
There's 53 players on an NFL team. There's essentially 4 on a basketball team. Yeah, the roster's up to like 12, but there's 3 or 4 that actually count. It is the NBA is it always has been. It's just recent years it's become more so. It is an individual sport that is played in a team concept. The NFL, what are we going to start having pitchers decide who the next manager of their team is? So that's his biggest complaint, is that he's not involved in the hiring process of the head coach. And of course, McNair, who's done a terrible job running the Texans, he's out there already kowtowing and saying, we're going to get him involved. And he's going to be. What the hell does a 25-year-old quarterback know about hiring someone who is going to come in and change an entire 53-man roster? We were talking about this earlier, how Eric Bieniemy is not getting a chance because a very good sources told me, actually, I haven't shared it for 3 sources, that Bieniemy is just not doing great jobs on interviews. I said what he needs to do in the offseason, he needs to focus on that. He needs to get a team in there that is going to teach him how to interview. Not everybody can interview well. It's not an instinctual thing. Sometimes you just have to go in and you have to learn. There's a process to it. You have to know what you need to say to make yourself be, because you're basically selling yourself, right? So he needs to focus on that. But what the hell does a 25-year-old quarterback know about that? Now, I get it. You get Bieniemy a chance, he'll probably do a good job. He's done a great job in Kansas City. But the question always comes down to, is he a part of the Andy Reid scheme, or is he actually a great coach? Because Andy Reid has done this for decades in Philly. Andy Reid, doesn't matter who his coordinators, Andy Reid's been running offenses his entire time. So that's always going to be a hinder when you are the coordinator for a head coach that is basically making all the plays. But what the hell does Deshaun Watson know about hiring a head coach? You're a quarterback. Focus on that. And if you don't like it, when you become a free agent, don't resign. And it's fine.
Well, you could.
But I'm with you. They might have to trade him, because if he doesn't like who they're going to get, or he's going to throw this big of a temper tantrum, if I can get a good haul, I might go ahead and start over. As good as Deshaun Watson is, he might be a great player that's just a terrible leader, because a leader doesn't do that.
No.
You would never see Tom Brady throw a temper tantrum like that. And do you know why they come to Tom Brady and ask him for his advice? First of all, because he's been playing the game for 20 years. And second of all, because he wouldn't do that in public to you. Pat Mahomes wouldn't do that in public to you. They get it. Ugh. I went a little longer than I should have, but that has irritated me all weekend. Who the hell is Deshaun Watson to decide who the next head coach for the Houston Texans are? You are a great quarterback. That is it. You're not the owner. These players think they own these seasons, and that's the dangerous thing when players start making a lot of money. They think that, look, you want to play real hardball, you say, look, dude, you're playing for who we're saying, and if you don't like it, that's fine. We'll tank next year, but you won't get a dime. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because NFL contracts, that's the one thing, they're not guaranteed. Doug, great job. We will see you next Monday. Enjoy championship weekend. Should be real quick prediction.
Oh,
next Monday. Next Monday, who are we talking about heading to the Super Bowl?
I predict that it'll be the Packers and the Bills. I think Bills are very dangerous for Kansas City.
I agree that could be a hell of a game. And I picked Packers Chiefs at the beginning. I've got the Packers winning the Super Bowl. I'm going to stick with it. But that all comes down to number 15's health. If Mahomes isn't ready to roll, Buffalo would blow them out.
Yeah, they would.
They're scary. Now, the one thing about Buffalo, I think it's going to bite them in the end. They've got no running game. And they only ran the ball like 7 times.
Yeah.
You're going to get in a shootout with Mahomes in Kansas City? You're going to get in a shootout with Aaron Rodgers in the Super Bowl, Buffalo does win. They better hope to hell Tampa Bay wins because that's going to get ugly. See you next week, brother.
All righty.
Goodbye, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. We're back tomorrow with another show. Well, unless we're fired, we'll talk to you then. Goodbye, sweetheart. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Guys and gals, it's time to go. We'll see you on the next show.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks for listening to Armchair Quarterback Radio, your first choice for sports talk here on the First Coast. Armchair Quarterback Radio comes your way every day. Find Armchair Quarterbacks Radio on Facebook today. And don't forget to tap that app. The Armchair Quarterbacks app is free to download, and you can take us anywhere you go. You can hear the whole show every day on Armchair Quarterbacks app.
Can I get another cigarette, please? Can I get another cigarette, please? Yeah, I know I live to regret it. Just give me another cigarette, please. I kinda like that. I wanna tap that. You bet I'm gonna get you.
If you haven't downloaded it yet, the Armchair Quarterbacks app is the best app you can tap today. Google Android, Apple iPhone. That's right. Download it. Tap that app today. You can take the Armchair Quarterbacks app anywhere. Free to download, free to use, and important to have. Download it today. Tap that Armchair Quarterbacks app. The best in Southeast sports talk. Listen live or catch the replay.